So there's a couple of reasons I want to talk about Paddy Pimblett. Firstly, I think he's massively overhyped. And secondly, I think he is unbelievably cringe. Every time I see a picture of him stuffing food into his mouth or doing a silly dance, I just think, oh my god, this is embarrassing. And there's also this outlandishly egotistical article, and there's a couple of quotes in there that are fierce funny, I have to say, from Talk Sport. Before we get into that, do me a favor and hit subscribe if you can, please. I'd really appreciate it. Let's have a look at this article. Famous Paddy Pimblett says that he's already the biggest name in UFC. There's Ronda Rousey, there's Conor McGregor, now there's Paddy Pimblett. I refuse to say Paddy the Baddy because it's actually embarrassing. It's actually an embarrassing nickname. Rising UFC star Paddy Pimblett believes he's already the biggest name in mixed martial arts. Now that's just a cringeworthy statement. You hear this type of thing all the time from Dylan Dennis. He says things like, I am MMA, which you'd fall off your chair laughing at that sort of statement. It's like, dude, first of all, you gotta go and fight somebody before you can start talking about that. Completely and utterly embarrassing. This isn't too far off. I'm the biggest name in MMA. I understand having confidence. I understand trusting yourself and your abilities and promoting yourself as much as you can. But this is a little bit too far for me. And given the fact that the majority of commentators, ex-fighters and the MMA community are falling all over Paddy Pimblett, it kind of plays into the idea that he is overhyped. I understand that this is a commodity for the UFC. They're looking at this guy, he's a needle mover, as Dana says. So apparently they did some really big numbers on the YouTube channel when Paddy Pimblett arrived for the weigh-in. And that's fair enough. If he moves the needle, he moves the needle. And I can understand that they're going to use that commodity to the best of their ability. They're going to mollycoddle it. They're going to wrap him in cotton and try get the most out of him. So as when they make it to the pay-per-views or title shots, they get as much money in off the back of these fighters as possible. I totally understand that. But I do think that there's a cultural divide that's happening between the US MMA media and the British, and we'll say Irish media. There's not much happening here in Ireland. There's a couple of big outlets. Like the idea of somebody binging loads of food and drinking loads of beer and acting like a fucking retard dancing around, that's pretty much just a Saturday night in my local town. So when I see Paddy Pimblett doing it, I don't think it's endearing, I don't think it's entertaining, I think it's quite embarrassing. These are the type of guys that are receiving social welfare. They're hitting 10, 12 pints on a Saturday night, then the kebab shop gets hit with a bang, and when they roll out of the kebab shop at 3 in the morning, it's pretty identical to the way Paddy Pimblett walks into the UFC arena. It's erratic, it's cringe, and it's just embarrassing for me. If we look at these two fights in the UFC so far, Vendramini and Vargas, they're not the most well-established fighters. And in both fights, he got cracked hard and dropped in both fights. In the Vargas fight, he was pretty easily mounted. His chin was up in the air. That's why he got dropped. He fights with his chin up in the air. He does have a good style. In the first fight, Vendramini, he did unleash a barrage of punches and put him away. And that was a good finish. And the rear naked choke was a good finish against Vargas as well. No one's taking that away. The dancing afterwards. What? What the fuck? But a lot of the MMA pundits, the likes of your Big John McCarthy or your Luke Thomas, they do talk about Paddy Pimblett being the baddie in the past tense, referring to his time in Cage Warriors. And we have seen that with the transition from other organizations over to UFC, whether that's Bellator, whether it's ONE, whether it's Michael Chandler, whether it's Ben Askren. It doesn't always work out. And you can see that there is evidence and there is a history of overhyping people. Ben Askren came into the UFC undefeated, absolutely smashed by Masvidal. Michael Chandler came in as a champion, did well against Dan Hooker and then got smashed a couple of times. Michael Chandler is one of my favourite fighters. I think he's absolutely awesome. I don't know whether it's a good fight for him and Tony Ferguson coming up. I think Tony could be in massive trouble. I think Chandler puts him away real fast. But that's besides the point. We do know that there is a hype train that comes with these people coming from other organizations. And I feel that's where we are with Paddy Pimblett. Oozing charisma, many have tipped Paddy to one day seize Conor McGregor's place as MMA's biggest name. But according to the 27-year-old, he's already alongside the former two-weight champion McGregor and trailblazer Ronda Rousey. I'm probably the biggest name in the sport, the fighter said. There's a very thin line between confidence and being overconfident, and I think that Paddy Pimblett might fall into that category of being overconfident because of the hype train that's surrounding him, because of the media that's surrounding him, and him referencing himself in the same breath as Conor McGregor and Ronda Rousey. It's too much for me. And you know what? It's not just me who thinks it, because who am I? I'm a nobody. I'm a guy sitting in his front room with a camera turned on talking to himself. Chael Sonnen, renowned pundit in the sport and really tough guy. the bad guy. Chael Sonnen doesn't see Paddy Pimblett as the next Conor McGregor. Where is that coming from, he said. I won't read this whole article, but there's a little bit here that I do want to shout out. Specifically, Sonnen points out the different approach between the two. Conor McGregor rose to prominence by taking on all comers and calling for bold challenges, whereas Pimblett has been clear that he will only accept certain opponents on his current salary. Two ways of looking at that. He's getting paid small money at the moment, so he's not going to take on big fighters. But that's not going to test you either, and that can lure you into a false sense of security and drive your confidence through the roof, as it seems to have done, because you're referencing yourself in the same breath as Conor McGregor. I'm not putting Paddy down, I'm just pointing out the obvious, so that we all don't get lost. Paddy said, I will not fight the best guys. Not anyone, anytime, anywhere. None of those things. Don't bring me anybody in the top 15. Don't ever bring me an opponent that's got a ranking while I'm under my current contract. I'm not putting Paddy down. I'm still searching for anything that has to do with Paddy and Conor intersecting. Other than they're both interesting guys who bring an accent, who are pretty good on the microphone. That's it. Is Paddy Pimblett going to be the champion in the UFC at 155? I don't know. It's too hard to say now because he hasn't been tested. I'm not going to count what happened in previous organizations like Cage Warriors. In his first fight in the UFC, he got rocked bad. He managed to wade his way through them deep waters and come out the other side with a flurry. In his last fight against Vargas, he got his bell rang in the first 5 seconds very heavily. I didn't know whether he was going to make it. He managed to make his way out of that. Rear naked choke. Fair play, job done. Unless he fights someone in the top 10, someone with a decent record, someone who bangs hard, then we're not going to know whether he's going to be this champion or not. But in the meantime, I'm sure he's going to continue on the hype train. I'm sure that the dancing is going to continue. I'm sure that the big fat stomach is going to continue. And I'm sure the cringiness is going to continue. So that's my thoughts on Paddy Pimblett. Let me know your thoughts. Drop a comment on the video. Make sure you subscribe because my ratio is getting even higher now. There was 89% of viewers on my last video that weren't subscribed. And if you just hit the red button, I'd absolutely love it. I'd appreciate it. Thank you very much for watching. Cheers.